Hey everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Sacha Welsh, founder of Welsh Wellness and certified health coach. And today I'm going to talk to you about what food should you avoid during your pregnancy. Okay, so let's hop right to it again. So the first food item that you should avoid during your pregnancy are raw or undercooked meats. I'm sure that's not the first time you've heard this. All doctors or midwives will tell you that as their #1 item is avoid raw or undercooked meats. The reason is because when consuming raw or undercooked meats, you're exposing yourself to the chances of contracting different types of bacteria and infections that can be really harmful, more so for the baby than for yourself. The types of bacteria and infections I'm talking about include E. coli, toxoplasmosis, salmonella, or listeria. But I know what you're thinking, why can't I have that when I'm pregnant? If I can eat those raw and undercooked meats when I'm not pregnant, what's the difference of when I'm pregnant? Well, studies have actually shown that a pregnant woman is 20 times more likely to be exposed to the harmful bacteria and infections from raw or undercooked meats than when not pregnant. Now, I also know what you're thinking, but there's lots of women that have had raw or undercooked meats when they were pregnant and went on to have totally healthy pregnancies and healthy babies. Why is that? Well, the reason for that is because although you're 20 times more likely to be exposed to those bacteria and infections, the chances are still super small to actually contract salmonella or listeria or E. coli or toxoplasmosis. All those are really small chances. So the risk is still there, but you can take that risk and totally be fine. But I'm not here to encourage that. I'm here to just educate you on why these risks exist, and then you can sort of just take it as you want. I'll be honest right now, when I was pregnant, I avoided all of those things just because I'm a better safe than sorry type person. Like, what if I'm that 1 in a million that contracts listeria and then I go on to have an unhealthy baby? That's just me. So if you're like me, then maybe don't take those risks. If you're not like me, take those risks. I'm sure you'll be fine. But I'm not here to encourage or discourage either. I just want to educate the reasons of why these exist. So the harmful effects that can happen if you do contract salmonella or listeria or any of the other bacteria and infections is that your baby can either result in a miscarriage, it can result in a stillbirth, or it can result in a premature birth. Those risks are very low, but that is the risk that's involved. So that brings us on to food item #2, which is raw or undercooked eggs. The reason is pretty much the same for raw or undercooked meats. You have a higher chance of contracting salmonella than not contracting salmonella when you're not pregnant. But again, the chances are really low. There's lots of women that go on to have eggs Benedict or lightly scrambled eggs or sunny side up when they're pregnant and are totally fine. And that is fine, but I just want you to know that is the risk involved with eating undercooked eggs when you're pregnant. Again, it can result in miscarriages or stillbirths or premature babies, but the risks are low, so it's totally up to you whether you want to take that risk or not. Okay, so moving on to food item #3, which is soft cheeses. Now this one actually has the same reasons as food items #1 and 2, the raw or undercooked meats or the raw or undercooked eggs. Soft cheeses can expose a pregnant woman to listeria, which is basically a form of food poisoning. When you have shown to have a strain of listeria in your body, it can cause a mild illness called listeriosis, which is basically flu-like symptoms. So for the mom, it's pretty mild. It's just feeling sick, like you have the flu, and often may have some vomiting or diarrhea, but for the baby, it actually fully attacks the placenta and the uterine lining, which in worst cases can completely be rejected from the body and cause a miscarriage, or if you're later in pregnancy, a stillborn or premature birth. Soft cheeses include obviously everyone's favorite cheeses. It includes brie, blue cheese, goat cheese, ricotta cheese, anything that's soft. But the good news is if you absolutely can't avoid any of those soft cheeses, just look for cheeses that have been made from pasteurized milk. That process actually kills the listeria strain in those cheeses. So if you can't go without your brie or your goat cheese on Thanksgiving weekend or on your holidays, look for pasteurized versions and you should be fine. So that brings me to food item #4, which is highly controversial, but it's alcohol. There are some women that love to have their glasses of wine during pregnancy and again go on to have completely healthy pregnancies. But there are some women that are completely afraid of touching alcohol because their doctor or midwife or health professional has jammed it into them to completely avoid it during pregnancy. Both of those are actually fine. But I do want to say some studies have shown that even trace amounts of alcohol, and by trace amounts I mean 1 glass of wine, can cause harm to the unborn baby and can cause some birth defects. Just one last point on the alcohol before we move on. My only opinion on that is that you share your blood with the baby when you're pregnant. So if you have a low tolerance for alcohol, maybe avoid it altogether. If you have a high tolerance, you may be able to get away with having a glass of wine or a drink here and there, but just keep those risks in mind that some studies have even shown that little trace amounts of alcohol have been connected to developmental issues or birth defects to a baby after they were born. Now we're going to move slightly onto the foods that you should have in low quantities. You don't have to avoid these altogether, but your quantities should be lower during your pregnancy period. So the first food item that you should have in low quantities that I'm going to talk about are organ meats. So this includes beef livers or chicken livers, anything that is the liver or organ of a meat substance. So the reason why we have to eat these in low quantities is because they are very, very high in vitamin A. While vitamin A is really nutritious for mom and the baby during pregnancy, too much vitamin A can cause vitamin A toxicity. And vitamin A toxicity can lead to birth defects for the baby. So it's best to avoid organ meat or not to eat organ meat more than, I would say, once a month. The next item to have in low quantities is again a pretty controversial one, but this is caffeine. Now I know all you moms that are coffee addicts or tea addicts or anything like that are just sitting here like, oh my goodness, what is she gonna say about this? Well, you know what? It's not that bad. You can have caffeine while you're pregnant. You just have to lower your intake. So the general rule of thumb that I like to tell my clients is less is good, but none is best. But this does come with a caveat. If you're a woman that was living off 4 or 5 cups of coffee a day and then you become pregnant, I don't want you to go from 5 cups a day to 0. That can send your body into shock, and that is even more harmful for the baby than the caffeine itself. So in cases like that, you just want to decrease your daily intake. So maybe go from 5 cups of coffee a day down to 3, and then you can keep lowering that down to 2. And then eventually you want to stick to about 1 to 2 cups a day during your pregnancy. The general rule that you'll hear from your local doctor or midwife is that to stick to 200 milligrams of caffeine per day. And this includes all caffeine coming from coffee or tea, soda or pop, or even chocolate. And last but not least, the last thing that you should avoid or eat in low quantities when you're pregnant is high mercury fish. These fish include king mackerel, swordfish, or shark, or even white and especially albacore tuna. Reasons why we need to eat this in low quantities is because it has shown to affect the baby's developing brain, but in low quantities we're talking once a week. If you're a tuna fan, having white albacore tuna once a week is not going to hurt. If you're a king mackerel or any high mercury fish fan, once a week is fine, but just lower your quantities if you're a big seafood lover. Okay friends, that's it from me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know by clicking the like button and clicking the notifications button, and subscribe if you want to see more videos about preconception, pregnancy, and postpartum health. I love these topics and I love hearing from you. If you have any questions, leave me some notes in the comments and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Until next time, bye.